Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's an exciting day, at least for me at least. We're starting putting this 69 Highboy back together. Today we're going to assemble the chassis, so let's get into it. Well guys, I got the 69 Highboy chassis in here on the lift, getting it ready to put the axles underneath it, and eventually I'll put the transfer case and drive shafts and brake lines and everything all on the chassis ready to accept the truck when the truck gets back from paint and body. First things first, we got to put these spring bushings in. They go right here in the frame. I have to still have to clean the polish this up a little bit so they don't get stuck in there. We've had that problem before where they get stuck and then you pretty much destroy the bushing and you have to order more. But I have 4 of them here, so in case I ruin one, we can just start over. But I'll polish that up, get it all cleaned up inside of there, get that thing pressed in there. Then we got to start hanging the leaf springs. Here's the leaf springs I got. They came from General Spring. Right there, General Spring, out of Kansas City. They made these, and these were pre-made, I think. So here's the leaf springs. We're gonna put, these are the rears, these are the fronts. These are the 1,550 pound fronts, a little bit lighter, and maybe ride a little bit better. That's factory rear leafs, the weight rating anyways. Have the Dana 44 here. I still have to put the wiper seals in it. But that won't take too long. I figured I'd just do that when it's hanging on the front end to make it easier. Here's the rear axle all ready to go. So my bolts for the leaf springs and everything, the shackles will all be in today. So that's the last thing I needed. I have my U-bolts and all my exterior parts painted here. Right here. In fact, I have some footage of me doing this, so I guess we can cut to that right now. Well, we're here in the other shop. And this is my new toy, or my new tool, I guess. It's a sandblasting cabinet. And I've been working on a little bit of the Highboy parts in here. Here's a lot of the little small parts that go along with the chassis. You know, we have the blocks, the rear pedestals for the cab mounts. These are the front pedestals for the cab mounts. These actually came from a viewer of mine. Real thankful of this guy. He had some clean front cab mounts he sent me. I sent him a few parts in exchange for him that he needed. We have some of the axle parts and the top straps for the leaf springs and stuff. And a few of these pieces I've already got sandblasted, playing around with this thing, getting the hang of it. But it's been real helpful, useful in cleaning these parts up here that'd be pretty hard to clean up and get ready for paint. So these bottom plates here, they were all crusty underneath, and it really helps clean that crusty stuff off, although you know that's never going to be seen a light of day. But you still don't want that bare metal there and rusting under there on underneath your new paint. So get this stuff all cleaned up, and then we're going to try some paint on it and see how it matches the chassis coat, and we'll go from there, and then we'll be assembling everything. So that's when the fun starts happening. But we're going to start blasting this stuff and see how we get. Well guys, I got done blasting, and one thing is, if you're gonna have a cabinet big like that, you gotta have a big compressor. So we have a big 7.5 horsepower Champion compressor there to run this sandblaster, and it doesn't run all the time, but it runs a lot, and it's rated for continuous use. But I got all the parts here sandblasted. They all came out pretty good. Here's those pieces. All these pieces are sandblasted, so I'm gonna get all this stuff, this dust cleared off of this thing, and then we'll be ready to paint this thing. So I'm gonna get this thing all painted up, and then we'll start bolting stuff on the chassis, the fun part. So I'm gonna get after painting this stuff, and we'll meet you back at the chassis. Well guys, I got the first coat of black paint down on all this stuff. Here's the paint I'm using. Just it's like an industrial level Rust-Oleum high performance enamel, they call it. I painted all the small stuff on the Ultimate Highboy with that stuff, and it's lasting really good, so I thought I would continue on with this. Actually doing a little bit better job with this stuff, so it should last even better. We did a sandblast on everything, and I did some primer, and then painted this. So letting all this get good and dry, I'm gonna flip them over and paint the other side, get the other side all painted up, and then we'll have everything ready to bolt up. Well, I don't have my bolts in yet. The some of the leaf spring bushings take 9/16 bolts, and those are some oddball size bolts. Not everybody carries them. I couldn't find any in town, so I had to order some bolts in. So I had got new bolts for the springs coming. Once those get here later this week, we'll start putting all this stuff back together. Well, guys, I got the all the bolts and hardware in for the Highboy frame over there. Got my bolts for the springs, and I also have all of these bolts to attach all the brackets and everything to the frame, all the little stuff. Grade 8 is probably way overkill for this. Actually, I know it's way overkill for this, but I just like something about yellow colored bolts on a black frame. They make me happy, so that's what we're going with on these. It was only a few cents more per bolt, so it adds up in the end, but I think it'll look really nice. And we got washers and lock nuts for everything as well. Not nylocks, they're actual real crimped over nut. These work really good on suspension stuff and chassis stuff that moves a lot. So there's nothing left to do but just start fitting everything. So let's get after it. Well, I have most of the brackets on the frame here. Actually, I think all the brackets I have to bolt on the frame. It turned out really nice. See what I mean about the gold colored bolts with the black frame? I think it just looks really nice, really clean, nice finish look on there. Right here on these two bolts, these go through this cross member here, and I didn't order long enough bolts. These are 1 inch, 7/16 by 1 inch bolts. And this needs about a 1.5 inch because it goes through this cross member here, and I didn't account for that. So I'm gonna have to get a couple of longer bolts there. And same thing here. I went and grabbed some grade 5 bolts just to hold these on here, but I'm gonna replace those with grade 8 so they match, because that will drive me absolutely nuts. Even if you can't see it behind the shock, it's still gonna drive me nuts. So I'm gonna get some grade 8 bolts there. These are 4 inches long, but I didn't account for the shock bracket when I ordered them, and they're just a tad too short. These are 4.5 inch. And those are going to work great, so I got to get some 4.5 inch bolts there and an 1.5 inch bolt there, and we are going to be good to go. So next step now is going to be putting the axles on the frame. I'm going to hang the rear one first because it's a little bit front heavy. I hang the rear one on there to help hold it on the lift, because if I hang the front one on here all front heavy, it's going to want to tip the back of the frame up. But I'm going to start hanging the rear one on there, and we'll go from there. Getting right along on assembling the chassis here. Got the front leaf springs on. I put the bushings in the frame here. These things are always a pain to get in. Usually those bushings are oversized from my findings, and we've had some as high as 35 thousandths over. These are about 15, and on something that's just barely bigger than an inch, that's way too much press fit. So I took some off so they go in there a little bit. They still go in real hard, but you know, about 2 thousandths, about 1.5 2 thousandths what I aim for, and get those pressed in there. Seems like they're always way oversized, but anyway, got them in there, pressed in there. Got the new leaf springs on, new hardware, of course. Rear leaf springs are on, and started assembling the rear axle. I goofed up and didn't order enough U-bolts, so can't get the front axle on and the rear axle on, but I need to do the wiper seals, so I think I'm going to do that next. I have the drums off of here. I painted the drums up, but I need to assemble the wiper seals on this axle here, so I think I'll do that, and then once my U-bolts get in, I'll be able to hang the axle on there. Well, as you just saw, I just got the wiper seals installed. They go on really easy, not really complicated at all. There's the inner piece that has rubber on it. The steel part goes inward, and that fits in a groove in the knuckle there. And then the felt part, and you got to cut the felt part up here, and the split on the other piece goes up top here. And you put it together, then you bolt these. The only hard part is getting everything held in place while you get a nut started. Once you get them started, it kind of holds it in place, and then you torque them all down. The ball is, I did put grease on the ball. It says to do that, just probably so nothing's dry when you're turning it, so it doesn't try to rip or tear anything. Gives a little bit of lubrication there before you get oil in there. I'm going to wait to put the oil in the knuckles until the truck's ready to drive. But got the seals all in it, and the axle's ready to go. So next up, we're going to put it on the chassis and get everything finished up there, and then we'll have a rolling chassis. Well, here you have it. Rolling chassis. It's back on the wheels and tires, supported by the axles itself. Oh, got the front leaf springs on, and the all the pieces for the U-bolts and everything, those bottom plates, and the nuts, obviously. I still have to torque all of those. It's important when you're doing U-bolts to get the proper torque and torque them, because they torque a lot more than you think they would. But got the front all done, and the rear is all done as well. Top plates and bottom plates, when you're putting these together, you got to make sure the U-bolts get, that top plate gets in those grooves there, because that's what kind of holds the U-bolts onto the axle there, and those bottom plates as well. But all that went together pretty good. So real happy with the way this chassis is turning out. I have the brake lines on order. I got a new set of brake lines on order. I have the soft lines on order. The tie rod ends are on order. Those were kind of hard to find. I ended up having to buy some new old stock Moog tie rods from like the 90s. But got those all ordered up. They're on their way. So I think we're going to do that on the next episode. We're going to be doing the hopefully the transfer case, drive lines, brake lines, and all of that on the next episode. I also need to get the body to the body shop. So all that is more to come on this chassis. And for the next episode, I have a special treat for you guys. I splurged a little bit and got some vintage new old stock parts for this front axle, and I'm super excited to show you guys. It's really awesome. You'll see that on the next episode, so you don't want to miss that, guys. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up if you like this project. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.